Hello, everyone. I am Abby, and for my relationship success presentation, I decided to interview my parents and share how communication has helped their relationship and how their relationship has been so successful. So, before I get into any of my presentation, I will show you their interview real quick, and then I will go into explaining their answers a little bit more. So, Mom and Dad, how is your relationship successful, and how has communication helped your relationship?
Successful?
Yes.
I would say, because we've learned to work with each other, listen to each other, and when we hit road bumps, we talk through them and come together to figure out different ways to communicate the next time so we don't get another road bump.
Okay. All right. How important is understanding each other's emotions in your guys' relationship? And what are some examples of how you guys understand each other's emotions?
Start again. We couldn't hear that question.
How important is understanding each other's emotions in your guys' relationship? And what are some examples of how you guys understand each other's emotions?
Well, by understanding each other's emotions, we know how to respond to each other. Sometimes it's via body language, sometimes it's otherwise, but that's where the communication needs to come back in play again. So if we see emotions, we need to ask questions and clarify.
Okay. So the last question is, arguments are bound to happen in any relationship. What are ways you guys come back from a setback?
Sometimes it's, taking an hour or two break and then coming back together and talking about it. That seems to work great.
Mm-hmm. Similar to how we work with you and your brother and sister is if we need to separate for a little bit, cool down, think about it, depending on the situation. But always returning back to the subject to make sure that it's finalized and not left undone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Alright, so let's start off on how my parents first met. So my parents' name are Brian and Carrie Manthei. My mom was born in Northfield, Minnesota, but then later on moved to Hutchinson when she was 5. My dad, on the other hand, was born and raised in Hutchinson. And little did my parents know, they lived only one street apart from each other. And they also went to the same elementary school and might have played on the same t-ball team. But later on in life, they ended up meeting at UMD, and then they started dating, and then they have been married for 22 years, 23 in August, I believe. So how is it successful? So in Module 9, we learned about communication within a romantic relationship. And the one thing that we did learn was Robert Sternberg's triangle theory of love. And one of the first triangles of or his theory of love is intimacy. And what intimacy is you basically start off as friends, and then you start to develop feelings for each other, and then it starts to turn into romantic feelings, and then you guys, so basically you start off as friends, you start dating, and then you end up getting married and being in this lifelong thing. So the next triangle is passion, which means a strong inflection, and that just means like the dedication and like your commitment towards a relationship. And actually the last triangle is commitment, and according to the textbook is a short and long-term plan to remain together and plan for the future. So how my parents said they made their relationship successful is that they learned how to work with each other. They have learned to listen to each other, and they also talk to each other when things start to get bumpy. And they talk to each other ahead of a time so that they can avoid these speed bumps. Alright, so the next question I asked my parents was about emotions. And in Module 4, we learned about emotions and communication. And emotion is very important, and it can be bottled up very easily. So it's very important for whoever is bottling up their feelings to talk to someone right away, even though they may not feel like they need to talk to someone. They really need to, because keeping it in and bottling in your emotions is not fun. I take that from experience, because I do that a lot, and it's just not easy and it's not fun for me to go through. So it's just easy being open. I know not a lot of people want to open up to other people, but you feel so much better when you open up to everyone or to someone you trust. But one of the questions I asked my parents was, how important is understanding each other's emotions in your guys' relationship, and what are some examples? And some of the examples that they said was watch for certain body language and know how to respond to each other and address the emotions right away. So for example, my mom could give off like a certain body language that she's just not in the mood for something, and my dad will see that and he will try to address it and see if she's okay. And knowing how to respond to each other is a very important thing, because you need to know how to respond the right way, because then you don't want to set the person off who's going through something or is feeling a certain way right now. And addressing the emotions right away is a way to help you feel better right away. So the last thing I asked my parents was repairing their relationship when they have an argument. And I know arguments are bound to happen, but we all need to learn how to, after an argument, we need to learn how to come back and apologize. Just like we learned in Module 8, that we need to learn how to come back and apologize. We need to cool off after that. We need to cool off after an argument. We need to come back together and just talk it over. And during that cool down, we need to rethink our actions and words in the argument, because during an argument and in the moment, we say things we don't mean. So some of the things that they said was, after they have an argument, they cool down from each other, they take a break, they take it like an hour or two, like my dad said. And during that hour or two, they rethink on their words and their actions that happened in the argument, so that when they come back together, they know how to approach each other better and know how to not escalate their conversation when they come back together. And then the last one was coming back together and talking it over and trying to fix whatever they got into an argument for. And then that is my presentation. Thank you guys for watching.